What Mercedes just announced for W14 is insane. We're gonna be going through that in today's video, so make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel hitting that red button down below. The first story is Lewis Hamilton reveals desire to beat Max Verstappen again in 2023 before retiring from F1 as he believes the Mercedes W14 can do it. Lewis Hamilton wants to become world champion again so he can retire from Formula 1 on a high, but still he insists that racing is no longer the most important thing in his life. When he was younger, his career was certainly the Brits' top priority, but he admits now that he has matured. He recognizes there are other aspects to life which now take precedence over success in F1. Despite that, he remains very competitive and was frustrated throughout 2022 as he was unable to challenge for race victories and the title. Hamilton wants to get back to winning ways next year, having watched Max Verstappen lift the last 2 World Championship trophies, and make sure he adds an 8th title to his collection before he steps away from the sport. He admitted as much in an interview with German outlet Sport Bild, in which he was asked if he wanted to avoid retiring after a decline, as was the case with Sebastian Vettel. "I think retiring as a world champion is a dream that every athlete has, and so do I," was his reply. Speaking about how F1 ranks in terms of the main aspects of his life these days, he added, "Motorsport isn't the most important thing for me either. When I was a kid, maybe it was. Probably also when I got into Formula 1. Ever since I was in my 30s, I've realized that it's all about making memories with friends, with family. It's about key memories with the people who mean the most to you. That's what I focus on and plan things to create those moments, because that's what you take with you in the long run." Hamilton turns 38 in January, and there is no doubt that he is now in the final stages of his F1 career overall. But despite plenty of retirement rumors over the last 12 months, he looks set to continue for a while yet, and is expected to sign a new Mercedes deal this winter. The Brit said there was little to report when asked for an update on his contract situation. Hamilton said, "We haven't started with that yet. So far we haven't had the time. We've been on the road for 2 months at a time. But he will definitely be renewing." He said, "Sometimes you wake up and have the feeling, I don't want to do this anymore. And sometimes you wake up and think, I can still do other things my whole life. There is definitely more I want to achieve. It won't be a terribly long time now, but I'll definitely be staying. And with the confidence I have for the W14, I'm chasing another championship." The second story is Toto Wolff makes complete disaster Mercedes admission ahead of new season. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has admitted that the 2022 season felt like a complete disaster for the Silver Arrows after Lewis Hamilton failed to get anywhere close to his 8th World Championship. Ferrari and Red Bull both finished above Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, prompting Wolff and his staff to rue a disappointing year. George Russell's triumph in Brazil was Mercedes' only Grand Prix win of the year, with Hamilton failing to secure a race win across a season for the first time in his career. Max Verstappen and Red Bull breezed to a Drivers' and Constructors' Championship double. Wolff has revealed that there was a feeling among the team that 2022 was a disaster of a year. He is aiming for a positive start to the new season. "For me, the perspective or the planning is not about short-termism. It's not about a race, even a season or 2 or 5. I would like this team to constantly develop to be chasing for race victories and championships every single year," the Austrian said, "but not taking it for granted, not having any sense of entitlement. And if I hear us talking, it almost sounds like the complete disaster of all seasons, but it felt like it. I think this is the right feeling. We finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. We were very close to Ferrari. We won a race. We had 10+ podiums. Whatever happens at the beginning of next season, it's going to be another building block for the success of this team." Despite that claim, Wolff has pointed out that there are several positives. He explained that a camaraderie remained despite the poor performances. "What I've seen this year in both factories is when things weren't going well, nobody turned on each other," he continued. "Nobody was pointing fingers. Everyone was just going, how do we get more performance in our part of the jigsaw? How do we get the car moving forward?" I also saw something which I think will help us an awful lot going forward, which is that in both factories, we trusted the process. We said we've got a process. We know how to develop a car. Okay, we've learned something new, so we need to adjust that process, and we need to do something a bit differently. But inherently, it's the right way of doing things. And I think that is something that's very powerful then from when we did have the victory in Brazil, that we can look back at that and go, okay, that process, that general way of doing things is the right way. The third story is George Russell reveals the struggles of his first year at Mercedes. At the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, there was a terrifying accident at the start with Zhou Guanyu crashing his car behind the crash barrier. George Russell Russell was involved in the crash but immediately rushed towards his colleague. A human reaction, the Mercedes driver recounted the moment. Immediately after the start of the race, Russell and Zhou hit each other after the Mercedes driver tapped Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri. At this, Zhou Guanyu Alfa Romeo shot off the track at high speed before flipping over and flying over the tire barriers. He got stuck between the barrier and the fence in front of the grandstand. Russell stopped his damaged Mercedes on the runoff strip, climbed out of his car, and rushed over to see if he could help Zhou. Asked about that moment, the 24-year-old Briton said it was simply a human reaction. Moreover, as a driver, he could imagine how Zhou must have felt in his plight. I guess, if I was in that position, I would want every single bit of help as soon as possible because you don't know what is going to happen next, the car's going on fire or whatnot. So, I guess that was probably more of a human reaction as opposed to a racing driver reaction, Russell said. The fourth story is according to a former team leader, Mercedes is prepared to compete with Red Bull in 2023. Mercedes is looking forward to the 2023 season with determination and optimism after a difficult year in 2022. The team is prepared to compete with Red Bull for the championship titles after enduring numerous issues with their W13 vehicle, F1 News, including porpoising issues that resulted in back injuries for Lewis Hamilton. Hogg is of the opinion that Mercedes will have a much better start to the 2023 season than they did in 2022. This won't make things any easier for Ferrari and Frederic Vasseur, their new team principal. Mercedes was able to make significant improvements toward the end of the season despite the difficulties they faced this year. This was most evident when George Russell won the Brazilian Grand Prix for the first time, a significant achievement for the young driver. Hogg, who led Mercedes-Benz Motorsport for more than 23 years, has first-hand experience with the dedication and hard work required to succeed in the fiercely competitive Formula One world. He believes that the team's difficulties this year will only serve to inspire them to get better and return stronger in 2023. Mercedes won't begin 2023 as seriously as 2022, which won't make it more straightforward for Ferrari under new administration. The unofficial pre-season shakedown in Barcelona served to suggest that this was a challenger that would struggle to yield a ninth constructors' title in succession, as the Silver Arrows warned that their W13 was struggling for pace. Although Mercedes believed that their Bahrain package, which brought the W13 closer to race setup with the zero-pod solution, would prove to be a significant step, porpoising was a particular issue that Mercedes discovered on filming day and in Barcelona that absolutely prevents very clear and sensible shakedown running for the day of filming. At Silverstone, we did lower the ride heights to more normal levels and observed this phenomenon. However, little was known about it or what was causing it. At the time, about the best thing you could do was simply lift the vehicle off the ground, give up performance, and manage it that way. Compared to the Race 1 package, that car was defined much earlier in the development program. The problem was that the porpoising was on a whole new level when we fitted it. The vast majority of the presentation that we planned to add didn't emerge in light of the fact that we needed to lift the vehicle considerably further, and by then you were unable to dispose of the skipping. It was extremely pleasing to observe how quickly the silver bolts recovered from the unexpected sledgehammer Mercedes received. Despite the fact that a title challenge was unlikely, the latter stages of the campaign were significantly more promising after the shaky beginnings of the Spanish and Hungarian Grand Prix. The season's high point was without a doubt the team's one and only victory, a 1-2 finish in Brazil. Although Mercedes' performance in the Bahrain test made it appear unlikely that the team would reach such a high level, consistency remained a problem. The fifth story is Mick Schumacher has seen an immense growth in Mercedes' Formula One operation since his sneaky first visit to the team in 2014 for his simulator debut. Mercedes announced last week that it signed Schumacher as its new reserve driver for the 2023 season, marking a return of the iconic family name to the team 11 years after his father Michael made his final F1 start. It marks the next step in Schumacher's career after losing his F1 seat with Haas last month following 2 seasons with the team, as well as ending his partnership with Ferrari after 4 years. Schumacher said that joining Mercedes means a lot given the family ties that date back several decades. His father raced sports cars for the German manufacturer prior to his F1 debut in 1991, while his uncle, Ralph, also raced for Mercedes in DTM. My dad has been part of this team from 2010 until 2012, and obviously it was a lot of the foundations of what it is today, said Schumacher. I'm very proud of being a part of it now, and hopefully again, I'll be able to help them go forwards and progress and contribute my knowledge to it. Schumacher SR joined Mercedes for its comeback F1 season in 2010 after it acquired the title-winning Braun GP operation at the end of 2009. Schumacher recorded one podium finish over his 3 seasons with Mercedes, but helped lay the foundations for the run of 8 Constructors' Championships that would follow from 2014. Schumacher Jr. said there was a noticeable change in the facility at Brackley since his last visit, revealing he made a secret visit in 2014 to try an F1 simulator for the first time. The changes that are obvious since 2014, which was the last time I came here, which was a kind of sneaky visit and do my first simulator session at the time, said Schumacher. To see the growth in the team is immense. It shows why the team is at the standard that it's at right now, so I'm very happy to be part of it. Very excited to see more of it and get to know everybody. Schumacher takes over the reserve role at Mercedes from Stoffel Vandoorne and Nick de Vries, both of whom have left the team ahead of the 2023 season. De Vries will race. Schumacher will be one of the only reserve drivers in F1 next year with extensive experience of the new generation of cars that were introduced in 2022, something he felt would benefit Mercedes. I guess it's not as common to have a reserve driver that has been driving the new era of cars, said Schumacher. I know the new tires, I know what the car is about, what it needs also in terms of driving style, so hopefully I'll be able to contribute to that, but also see what the drivers need from the outside, and obviously simulator work is going to be very important. We have a lot to do, and hopefully I'll be able to contribute the knowledge that I have, but also gain a lot of knowledge for myself that I'll be able to use for the rest of my career and my life. In 2023, Toss says he expects a closer fight but believes that it will be Russell, not Hamilton, that will provide the Dutchman with a challenge. Such superiority is shown by Max Verstappen, and Red Bull racing this year is rather rare, Toss told Speedweek. I expect a 3-way battle between Max, Charles Leclerc, and George Russell, who is already stronger than Lewis Hamilton.